causing news.
We've got Ogden Chief of Police Eric Young in the audience, and he's looking at police violent kidnapping claims.
Now, this is interesting here. Frank Francis was a columnist and editor of the Ogden Standard and then Standard Examiner. And he was mayor of Ogden in 1922-23 when the original station burned down, and he led the local effort to get this station built.
So Wattis is E.O. Wattis. He was the Grand Marshal of the Wattis School of Business in Ogden and Weber State, the Wattis Art School. He's the CEO. He ended up being the CEO of GE. So Utah Construction is GE now. They're based here. They were based in Ogden. That's how all this money got. And then the Brownies invented the machine gun. So all these muck-mucks, every muck-muck you ever meet in Ogden, they're always related to Brownies. And so they made billions and billions during World War I, selling to both sides, by the way. So you go to Europe, in Europe, you don't mention the Brownie name, they hate them. And because they know they sold to both sides for the whole time. So multi-billionaires off that machine gun. And he invented that right there where the Ben Lomond is now. The Bigelow. And that's when he's talking about Bigelow. Bigelow was a big time crook. He robbed everybody and then split out of town. And then Mariner Eccles bought the Ben Lomond and changed it to the name of the Ben Lomond. The Federal Reserve's named after Mariner Eccles. So there's a big banking hub here. I mean, this place was full of the richest people in the country. Such a boom town. So, but Wattis was the Grand Marshal, that Masonic. The Weber State, I taught there at Weber State School of Business for all those years. It's the Wattis School of Business, the Wattis School of Art. You know, they built Hoover Dam. But then they merged in 1975 and became General Electric. Utah Construction was thing, and it made billionaires all over this town. And so huge money here until the 1980s, and a lot of them left and went to California. But like the Lindquist, they're Brownies. Every time you see somebody muck somebody, they're always, that tree is all Brownie money. Like the Bertha Eccles, that building, that's their two wives, the Eccles and the Brownies' moms, Bertha and Anna Eccles. So they called it Bertha Anna. You know, and so it really derives from, most of the money here derives from the Brownings, the BAR, which was a machine gun in World War I. The French were still fighting. Purple was mowing down 1,800 soldiers a day. And so they had an exclusive contract with the military. World War I, World War II, Korea, they made billions. So I don't know if you remember a few years ago when all the controversy was because there was a Bank of Utah plane on the tarmac in Tehran in Iran, because no planes aren't allowed in Tehran. And it had a Bank of Utah logo, made the front page of the New York Times. Everybody's wondering, I'm like, dumbasses, who owns the Bank of Utah? The Brownies. And the Brownies armed family used to have headquarters in Tehran. They're still the global military oligarchs, you know. That's why they never made anything here. So there's a famous speech in 1941 that FDR, Roosevelt was here. Both the Roosevelts used to spend a lot of time in Ogden. Teddy and Franklin were in Ogden a lot. And he gives this speech, there'll be no war profiteering in World War I like there was World War II, and he's going right at the Brownies. Mariner Eccles sitting right by him, and he's going right at, so the Eccles says, we don't care. We don't have anything made here anyway. They made everything at Lee National Oil in Belgium, which goes clear back to be pre-Napoleon. So that's why the Brownies never went public, and because it's against the law to war profiteer. And they're the greatest war profiteers probably in the history of the world. This family, this town. So in Europe they call Ogden blood. It's the right name in this town. I mean, the history of the crime in this town. Oh, holy shit!
Some of you people, I'm sure, have ancestors.
So on the corner right there, that building that's on that side, there's a documentary about it, and it's called The Jungle City. They get into it, but it's not that well done. But it was paid for. It was. So if anybody in the country wanted anybody killed, because they all passed through here, so all the wealthy business people, you wanted a murder for hire, it always happened in Ogden. So what they would do, they would tell you who it was, whatever, And then the prostitutes right here, they come out of this building, they bait them in over there to the hotel. Tell them they're giving them a freebie or whatever. They put razor blades in their
I
mouth.
know who Coolidge was.
They'd slit their throat. And then they would throw their body right there behind the building. Our city police would come pick it up, and no one would ever hear about it. They did it to hundreds and hundreds.
Cars were still such a unique thing.
So you know the Kokomo. So when he bought the Kokomo, he told me, he says, because I did all the restoration in this town, I did all the buildings and everything. He says, we tore a wall out, and inside one of the walls, there was a hole. And he says there were literally a few hundred wallets, GIs, military personnel's wallets in there. So what would happen, it was a brothel, and these GIs in World War I would come through here, and World War II, just like he said, at the Cornerstone, hundreds and hundreds of millions of soldiers came through this thing. So they'd bait them in there, and while they're in there, they'd rob them. It's still there. And so he says there were hundreds of wallets in there. He says there was no money in any of them. And I'm like, of course. So that's what this town was. Do not kid yourself. Nobody wants to talk the truth. Have you seen the documentary on PBS on the Roosevelts? You got to watch it. It's a multi-series. Ken Burns did it. It's cool. But every time they use a screenshot of a newspaper on the Roosevelts, it's the Ogden Standard Examiner. Every time it's the Ogden Standard Examiner. Yeah, because they had a house here, the Roosevelts. Teddy had one up there by where Pineview is now. And so there's lots of photographs here. They were here all the time. So a lot of this Masonic temple here really was a powerful one running, because all these presidents are Masonics. So this one must have been still this day. In the pockets of somebody who was at the cornerstone ceremony. It's listed it's such cool history here. But it is from the morning it's hard to find ceremony. It. The ceremony. You got to talk to us old timers. We can read this 18-page newspaper for only 5 cents. Well, that's the Salt Lake Tribune, huh? Here we have an interesting article about a soldier that had died that was giving tribute. World War I had recently concluded, so I have to guess that was the soldier that they're talking about, reflecting on the past Memorial Day. I'm sure that day held a lot of meaning for the people of 1924.
Mayor, can you read this too? That is small time.
Get some of these, Charlie.
We can also see some foreshadowing for World War II as we look about the Germans becoming more jingoistic and Japan's